Hi, and welcome back to Grow It Anyway. It is a hot day here in central Oklahoma. As you know, I do not think that any garden is complete without tomatoes, and we have a lot of tomatoes this year. So we're going to be talking in this part 2 of our maintenance series about what we need to do to maintain our tomatoes to try to prevent diseases and how to just take care of them to get the most possible growth. So come along, let's check in on these tomatoes.
Welcome to Grow It Anyway, where imperfect gardens still grow. If your plants don't look Pinterest perfect, you're in the right place. So come on, let's grow it anyway together.
All right, so here we are in our very first tomato bed. These are our 4th of July tomatoes, and as you can see behind me, they look very healthy, they are very green, and look what I found. You see that? It's a worm. It wants to eat our tomatoes. We're just gonna squash that guy. So here in zone 7, it gets really hot pretty quick. Today, it's a very hot and sunny day. So you need to prune your tomatoes. Why do we need to prune our tomatoes? One of the reasons is to increase airflow. Remember, I planted these really close together. And so in order to make certain that I have enough airflow, I need to make sure that this, whenever it bushes out and grows up, that it doesn't have so many leaves that it's just not thriving. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how I prune my tomato plants. Okay, so on this tomato plant, as you can see, we've got the main stem here, and then we have a trunk out this way, a trunk out this way, and then you have the V here. So I have pruned this up to the point where we have these 2 main branches coming off. This one here, we will want to trim it because we don't need it, and it's gonna start to flower here. So I'm gonna trim this one here. And whenever you trim, you just trim it as close to the stem as possible. And you can take this and you can put it in some water, take off these bottom leaves, put it in some water, and it will root out, and then you can replant. This could be a whole nother tomato plant if you wanted to do that. The other thing that you want to do is you want to take off the little sucker ones, and we'll show you more of those in a minute. But see how this branch here, it's touching the ground. Because of that, it gets splashback. See that? We've got wind damage here, but it's gotten water on it. And so that's gonna become diseased. So I'm gonna go ahead and I am going to trim that one off. You just don't want to have any of the branches or any of the leaves touching the ground. So like this one, I imagine whenever it's raining and it's gonna splash. See, this has got dirt on it, so this is gonna splash. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it off as well. We've got this one here in the back. Take a look. This one's got tons of fruit on it. We're gonna leave it. This one here does not have any fruit on it, and it's got a low hanging branch, so we're gonna go ahead and take it off. And this one here, I think we could go ahead and take it off as well to give it some increased airflow. I can get these to open up. All right, so there's our tomato plant, and it looks pretty decent. This one right here though, looks like it could splash. So if they're growing down, this one, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it on for now, but I'm gonna watch it because if it gets splashy on it, it's gonna be growing. But then let's move on to the next one and you can see what we're doing on that one. All right, so here's our next example of needing to All right, so here's another plant that we need to prune. This is a sucker. Suckers are the ones that grow close to the bottom. You can see I've had this in its original V. It's the first two mains. And I'm gonna take off all of these branches that are hanging towards the ground. That's a little sucker. We don't need that one. All right, and so we have two main V's here. We have our two main branches. And this one needs some support because it's not quite big enough to attach to our cattle panel up here, but it does, we can't just let it flop on the ground. So I've got this stick here, this little bamboo, reusing it from last year. And I am gonna go ahead and I'm going to use one of my clips like I used for the squash and cucumbers. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna clip it there. All right, let's go ahead and just clip it there. It's got some good tension. Let me just do this. All right, now it's got some tension there, so it's not going to go anywhere. But whenever I did that, it makes these what I call in the splash zone. So I'm gonna go ahead and just trim these off. All right, let's get the rest of these done. Okay, so this is our 4th of July tomatoes that are done. See how much more airflow that they're gonna have because they are not, have all the leaves on them that's gonna restrict that airflow. Okay, so here we are in our Cherokee purple bed. As you can see, these need to be pruned. We've got some leaves in the splash zone here. That you can see have gotten dirt on them and have obviously gotten rain on them. But yeah, these guys are looking really, really good. And whenever I'm in the garden and I'm checking out my tomatoes, not just for what needs to be pruned, but I'm also checking the foliage. Is there any bugs on them? Do I have any caterpillars on them that are gonna eat? And then I also check out the fruit. So I see a little issue going on with this guy. Let's check it out. It looks like, yep, looks like there may be a worm in there. So I'm gonna go ahead, knowing that that is probably not gonna be any good. I am going to go ahead and take this one off if I can. I'm gonna go ahead and take him off. He's damaged, likely to have a worm in there. I can't see, yeah. And so we're just one sacrifice, but look at all these other ones here. We've got other blooms here. This guy also, part of our maintenance, this one needs to be supported. You can see where it's loose. We don't want that stem breaking off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take those clips. I may go ahead and get one of my bamboo stakes and just kind of push him over so he can get on this cattle panel. If I clip it just on this little piece right here, I'm worried that that might just be a little bit too hard on that one branch. I'd rather clip it on a thicker stalk. So while I'm gonna go ahead and trim these branches up a bit so we can get some more airflow, I'm gonna push it over to that cattle panel so we can start training it to the cattle panel so we'll be able to go ahead and support it that way. So, all right, let's get this done. So when we're maintaining our tomato beds, it's really important to go ahead and maintain those companion plants as well. Here's my marigold. As you can see, it's got some beautiful blooms on it, but it also has some like dried flowers on there. So it's really, really good that if you go ahead and pull off the deadhead these, and then I will split them up. See all those seeds there? Those are great seeds. I'm just gonna go ahead and sprinkle those seeds directly in my bed. So maintaining my companion plants, that way they'll grow more. You wanna deadhead the ones that are dead, and like I said, sprinkle those into the bed itself, and that will propagate more marigolds. It's like free plants. Also, I have basil in this plant, and you can see we've got some little damaged leaves, whether by insects, grasshoppers, or wind, or what have you. I'm gonna go ahead and take off all of these dead leaves as well. So you want to look at the dead and damaged leaves. The next thing I'm going to do is, because I want this plant to continue to grow and bush out, I really don't want it to flower. So I'm going to go ahead and pluck off those flowers and prune the top on our basil plant. And you can see it's got this little flower that's getting ready to start. If you will look you can see at the plant, at the stems, you see the flowers coming out of here, off of this stem right here. And then we've got these other branches branching out. Let's go down to the next one. See how there's like 3 there? I'm gonna go ahead and top off and take off this section of the basil plant. Now I can still use this and give it to my chickens. I can chop and drop, whatever you want to do with it. I'll probably put it in my compost. But this will allow your plant to continue to bush out and get big. So I do not like to have any flowers on my basil. Some people talk about how that, if you let them flower, it changes the taste of the basil, and that may absolutely be true. But what I like to do is just go ahead and regularly take off those flowers, take off that first section of the plant. You always want to leave it as a V, like this. If I wanted to, you can see where I have taken this piece off before, and it'll just kind of scab over. But if I'm going to take it off again, I may take it off right here, and that way you'll have 2 more branches that will allow your plant to continue to bush out and grow. So what you want is some really nice bushy looking basil. Okay, so that was my top two beds, the Cherokee Purple and the 4th of July, all looking great. Now I have 6 lower beds, right? And this back bed that we did was our big mama Romas. And it's telling a completely different story. So let me show you. So that's my big mama Roma there. You can see I have kept them trimmed up for the most part. They're good and pruned. However, I mean, look, they're just puny. I think what happened was we had, if you recall, we had a tree right there. We had 2 trees. Those trees were just kind of shading out the big portion of this bed. Well, we've taken those 2 trees down, but which is fantastic for growth. They're getting more than enough sun now. But what happened is we had all of that wind, weeks and weeks and weeks of just high winds every single day. And then it dropped pretty low. Our temperatures got down to like 42 degrees, which 45 degrees. It did not merit putting down frost cloth, but I think a combination of the wind and also the cooler temperatures really affected these tomatoes. And it didn't help that that was, you know, right after I'd pruned. So anytime you prune your tomatoes, you know, you want to get them in the least stressful environment because they need to repair those, you know, basically those sores that you've opened up on those wounds. So they need time to recharge. They need time to heal. And whenever I did that, and then we immediately had a stressful situation, I think it just damaged it. Also, with the cold temperatures, I think not just these 6 beds down here, but also my Cherokee Purple and the 4th of July, it really has kind of stunted their growth a little bit. So while I paid attention to the weather, while I definitely was past my last frost date, you know, there was no issue with putting them out. It's just that they were under a lot of stress. So what I'm doing is whenever I go through these, oh, there's the husband. He's been mowing. So what I'm doing is I'm going through, again, I'm looking for diseased, damaged, dying leaves. So I'm going to take those off. And I'm going to remulch this bed. I'm going to take out the weeds. I'm going to remulch all 6 of these beds. But because they've been under stress, I am going to go ahead and put a little fertilizer on them. Let's talk about that. Okay, so I'm taking a little break, and I thought while we did that, we'd talk about my plans for the not so thriving plants. Because they are struggling a little bit, and they've been in the ground for well over a month now, and they don't look like they're thriving, I plan on putting some fertilizer on them. Now, fertilizer is probably the most intimidating thing to me. I don't understand it. That and pest control. I mean, those are the 2 things that intimidated me the most. So if you want to, you can go get a soil test and you can see exactly what your soil needs, maybe what your plants need and all of that, and do a very scientific analysis of that. So you're making sure that you get the exact nutrients that your plants need. If you want to do that, great. I'm not your girl for that. I am not going to do that. What I am going to do is I'm going to look at my plants, see if I think that they need something. You know, it could be root rot nematode, or you know, it could be tons of things, but I'm going to start with the little things I can control. And I know that it probably needs some food. It's been hot, it's been windy, they've been stressed. We had a bunch of rain all at one time, and they were beautiful leafy green, and then all of the stress came, and they are clearly not thriving. Their foliage is not green. A lot of times that watering with our well water or whatever, you can wash away those, you know, those minerals and those nutrients. So I'm keeping it super simple with my fertilizer. I am using this It's an all-purpose. This is specifically for tomatoes and vegetable mix. It is a 462. That 462, I have to look this up every single time. That's your nitrogen is 4. The ratio is 6 for phosphorus and 2 for potassium. And it's also got some magnesium, some calcium in there, but this is specifically designed for tomatoes. I am starting small. Is this going to fix it? I don't know. But this is what I'm going to try. It's not that, super expensive. I've heard make banana water, crushed eggshells, all of that. Fantastic. Try it, do it, whatever works for you. This is what works for me. I'm going to try it. If it doesn't work, and then I will do something else. I will probably investigate a little further, and I'm going to do the best I can. I'm just going to try to baby these along a little bit. So my plan is this. We're going to go through just like we did. We're going to weed. We're going to look at the leaves. We're going to remove all the damaged, diseased, and dying plant leaves on it. Then I'm going to just top dress. What does that mean? I'm going to take about 1/4 to 1/2 cup, just a small, I have a small hand, so I'm just going to get a small handful, and I'm going to just put that around the base of the plant. Nothing major. And then I'll water that in whenever it cools down a little bit. I've always was so fearful that it was going to burn my plants. You hear that, and I think that's more of the synthetic type of fertilizer. Hopefully we're going to do this and we'll see a noticeable, visual change in that. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just make sure they have enough support. Some of them are, you saw they've been stunted a little bit. I don't believe that they're going to be able to be attached to that cattle panel yet. So if they do need support, I'm just going to take my little bamboo stakes and stake them up and clip them with either my tape or my clips. The last thing I'm going to do is, because that back, especially the back bed, it needs some more mulch. So I'm going to just re-mulch it, put some more mulch on there. And let me see what else we were going to do. And just weed it. That's pretty much the maintenance that we're doing. We're starting to fruit, and we want to make sure that it has the nutrients to be able to sustain that fruit. There are a couple of plants that just are not... I'm calling it. I'm going to pull them. And I've got a new variety in the green that I've had in the greenhouse. I've been hardening off for a couple of weeks, and they're called Black Beauty. They're this beautiful black tomato. Yeah, I didn't have enough varieties of tomatoes. I said I wasn't going to do it. I do it all the time. I do it every year. But we're putting in some Black Beauty plants. So I put in one, and then I wasn't going to put any cherry tomato plants either. Guess what? We're putting in cherry tomato plants. I got one amethyst cream cherry tomato that I've already put in the garden where at the end of one of the beds. So I'll show you that later as well, but just on the arch cattle panels, so they have some support there. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So after I have a water break, and let's go finish these last beds. All right, here's the finished product. Everything is mulched and trimmed. Man, this looks great. Look at all the fruit on there. And fertilized. We got everything supported that needed to be supported. Got it attached to our trellises. And these little bush ones don't need a lot of support, but look at our Black Beauty. hopefully she'll have some success. All right, so that's it for part 2 of our May garden maintenance series over tomatoes. So just to recap, always make sure that you have your tomatoes supported properly. Make certain that, that you have them pruned. Remove all of those suckers and make sure that you have all of your splash zone leaves out of the way. And then fertilize them about once a month to make sure that they have every chance of success for making fruit and not just foliage. Check your plants for pests just every time you walk through the garden, and you can remove those dead, damaged, and diseased leaves. And by staying on top of things, you're just giving your tomatoes a better chance of succeeding through the hot summer months. And last but not least, always make sure that you have a nice layer of mulch on there so that it retains water. And listen, I mean, like I did, don't ever be afraid of just resetting. If you've got plants that look too ill to even continue, just go ahead and pull them and plant something there that's going to give you maybe hopefully some more success. And you don't have to commit to one plant just because you decided that you would plant that. It's okay to reset your plants, pull and replace. Or just pull and don't replace. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and also turn on notifications to make sure that you don't miss another episode of our garden maintenance series. The next series we are going to do is about root vegetables, and in particular our potatoes. There is a lot going on in the potato bed, and a lot of it's not good. So come join us, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining. Bye.